What's up, family? We're live bringing you what you need to hear on a platform that you might not have thought you would hear it. So, who was victimized by the politicization of the DOJ? Congressional Black Caucus or Donald Trump? That may seem like an odd beginning theme question to be posed during these times, but you'll see what I mean in a few minutes. Before we get into it, make sure you subscribe, like, comment here. We bring a lot of content to you. We're doing live until we bring our team on that's going to help us with our long form videos. You'll see some exciting things happening on this channel in July of 2024. We hope you'll be here for the ride as we go along. So make sure you let everybody know about this site, this platform, this arena where we invite everybody, trolls and the like, come on in. We want to break your algorithm. We want to get you out of your ideological cocoon and have you engage with us right here on serious issues, trying to find serious solutions to serious problems here. But we have to call out a spade when we see a spade. We have to show the hypocrisy on one side, on the left, and on the right. And we have to try to find common ground based on history, on primary facts, some secondary facts when we need to, but get out of your algorithm of MSNBC and Fox Entertainment and News Nation and Newsmax and all the algorithm confining platforms that you find yourself watching and listening to the extremes of being able to listen to someone else who may not agree with you. We may not change your mind here. We may not have you come over to this side or that side. But until we start talking and finding common ground, at least hearing each other out, we're never going to get back to a semblance of normalcy that we've come to like and enjoy in this great nation of ours. So, who was victimized by the politicization of the DOJ, Congressional Black Caucus, or Donald Trump? As many of you know, unless your head has been buried in the sand like an ostrich, Trump defenders, since the 34-count conviction in the hush money trial in New York City led by Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg, have talked about the weaponization, the politicization, the misuse of the judicial system and the court system against Donald Trump and wielded by the likes of President Joe Biden, the Democrats in general. You find the soup du jour that matches your anger, your rage about an outcome that you didn't like, that maybe you didn't foresee, or that you thought was patently just unfair, manufactured, much ado about nothing, right? Here's what one representative said. Representative Kevin Hern, Republican from Oklahoma, and to put this in perspective, you do remember the Oklahoma Republican Party sanctioned Senator Langford in that state because he was working across the aisle with Democrats to find a solution to what everyone is saying, particularly on the right, is an open border situation and millions of people coming across the border and murdering people in the whole nine, right? We know what that whole concept is. We know what that whole cry for immediate help and immediate assistance, and somebody should do something about it. Well, when Senator Langford decided he was going to do something about it, he was censored for working with a Democrat to try to find a bipartisan solution, because that would take away an argument and a point of contention for the Republicans to run on in November. So much for open borders being a real problem. But I digress. Congressman Hern said this, quote, "This is beyond Trump. Dems have used Trump to weaponize the court system, and then it could be us. It could be anybody." Well, Congressman Hern, I'm glad you said that, because you're late to the party. Because if you're an African American or Latino or somebody of color who has been historically pressed by law enforcement, by the criminal justice system, by the judicial system, by government agencies, you name it, we kind of know it could be us because it has been us. And we kind of know it could be anybody already because it has been us. In his book, Rumor, Repression, and Racial Politics, George Derek Musgrave, who is the assistant professor of history at the University of Maryland in Baltimore County. He studies the history of Black elected officials being investigated for wrongdoing and the role that race played between the years of 1965 and 1995, really 30 years. When you talk about sort of the beginning, the ramping up of Black elected officials taking office all around the country. In 1995, when you see sort of a normalization where that's not sort of seen as the first anymore, like the first Black mayor of Newark or the first state senator in this state, right? Those kind of things became sort of normalized in 1995. But what he found was interesting. He found lots of records of Black electeds claiming that the government, the news media, was out to get them. Does this sound familiar? His research found patterns of disproportionate targeting, but no organized conspiracy. Now, I have my own qualms with those particular findings because of these couple of other things that he found as well. He also found this, and this I think actually argues against his saying that there was no organized conspiracy. He found that in 1971, listen up now, every single member of the Congressional Black Caucus was under investigation by either the FBI, the CIA, or the Secret Service. Let me repeat that again in case you didn't quite get exactly what I'm trying to say here. He found that in 1971, these are some of the first members that formed the Congressional Black Caucus. These are the initial founding fathers and mothers of the Congressional Black Caucus as we know it today. In 1971, every single member of the Congressional Black Caucus was under investigation by the FBI, the CIA, or the Secret Service. The Joint Center for Economic and Political Studies issued a report that I saw while I was in college in Washington, D.C. Shout out to American University. Shout out to the Hill, interning on the Hill. And it stated that 40%, and this is the Joint Center for Economic and Political Studies, right? This is the seminal leading Black think tank in America, housed right here in D.C. Shout out to the Joint Center. They say that 40% of Black elected officials at that time were under federal or state investigation. Now, what does that tell you about sort of what's going on here? It shows you that this weaponization, this politicization of federal agencies, law enforcement, the Justice Department, the FBI, the CIA, none of this is new and none of this is germane to just poor President Donald J. Trump. This is a pattern that has happened for decades. It just has not happened to who? To Republicans and to people like Donald Trump. Because I will tell you that when you look at the fact that every member of the Congressional Black Caucus in 1971 was under some kind of investigation, and when you look at the fact that 40% of Black elected officials nationwide in the 80s were under some form of investigation, then folks, weaponization ain't a Donald Trump issue. It ain't even a Democrat issue. It's an American issue, because I can assure you that some of the main people behind the investigations of the Congressional Black Caucus and other Black elected officials across America were done by, come in close, were probably done and led by Republicans and Democrats. Clutch the pearls. Could that be actually true? Yes, it has been. And it's been that way. And if you're an African-American former elected official, if you're an African-American voter, if you're somebody who's been active in campaigns and worked on the ground in community organizations, you know that Black elected officials have been targeted by the politicization. I know I'm saying that wrong. Got a list this today. The weaponization of the process, however you want to define it, against our leaders and our leadership, going back all the way to COINTELPRO, right? And the FBI and J. Edgar Hoover, right? Of having this scandalous court trials of Marcus Garvey, right? Thrown out of the country on trumped up IRS charges in the early 1900s, right? this is nothing new. It's just new to you. You're a right of center Republican who has thought that this could never happen to my president. So what are we showing? We've shown a couple of things. One, the weaponization and politicization of federal law enforcement and the judicial system and government agencies have occurred way before Donald Trump. Second thing we've learned, the right have always disagreed, fought against, and ridiculed to some level those Black elected officials that alleged such action in the past, mainly because many were behind doing it, right? The third thing I think we've learned in these last couple of days is the right will now do quid pro quo against Democrats as retribution. Now, this is why we're in the state that we're in right now, right? We literally have people on the right who are behind weaponization, politicization of these agencies and these departments against Black people, Democrats, liberals, whoever you want to call the characteristics of these African Americans. We're behind those in the 70s and 80s, somewhat in the 90s as well, who are now come to say one of their own has been taken, and now they are talking about the weaponization and the politicization of the system. Am I missing something here? Talk to me if I am, or maybe I'm not. This could actually be a watershed moment for real reform if Republicans would admit the sins of their past and really join up with real imprisoned political prisoners. You know, some of the Black Panthers that are still been in prison, that are still in prison, have been in prison since for 50 years, right? If we could talk about some of the real political prisoners who've been fighting for the working class man for decades, right? Who on trumped up charges have been sent to prison or kicked out of the country or you name it. If they could actually say, you know what, we were wrong or our eyes were closed to this injustice, they may be able to join up with people on the left to really talk about what fundamental reforms we have to do with our agencies, with our departments, with this FBI, CIA. How do we really make change? The concept of Sankofa in the African tradition is that you can't know, if you don't know your past, you can't know your future. And so, my fair Republican friends, as you bemoan and gnash teeth about the injustice that happened to Donald Trump at the whim and the selection process of this jury that was over his case rather, and how you bemoan how evil Joe Biden has used his power and his authority to dream up these investigations and these judgments and these injunctions and anything else you can recognize. If you're willing to look at Joe Biden and call the Biden crime family and put all that on him, but you can't see the sins of your same leadership 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 years ago and doing the very same thing with those very same institutions to Black people, then we have nothing in common to talk about. And you're just hurt because the cult of personality that is Donald Trump has been convicted of a crime. The right needs to revisit history, stay there for about 2 or 3 minutes, learn lessons from the past and act accordingly. But I don't know if that'll ever happen. Subscribe and like, comment here. Tell me what you think. I want to know. Go to my TikTok page, curious_formula. We do a lot of lives there. We talk about some of these same issues. We're building it as we fly. But as I always say, stay curious and remember, think. It ain't illegal yet. Take care, family. Thanks for being here with us.